Yes, guys, I've got something a little bit different for you. Today we're going into the salon. I'm going to be showing you a video of a full hair system installation with my stylist, Myra. This video is for her because she's been cutting my hair for 6 years now. She works her socks off, and I just wanted to show you guys how good she is and how she might be able to help you. You don't have to be in London. You don't have to be in the southeast of the UK. She does remote cut-ins as well. Now, what is that? Remote cut-ins are basically you post out your hair system, you send payment, you specify what kind of style you want, what kind of cut you want. She does it remotely and then she sends it back to you. So now her services aren't just limited to London or the Southeast. You can be anywhere in the UK and she can cut your hair for you. Now, Myra has over 20 years in the industry, so she's no novice. She's really good at this. And I want this video to serve as a guide to show what she can do for you. Now, for anyone wondering what hair system is being cut in at this particular install, it's the Levivid ZeoGuard Mirage hair system. It's going to be in the description box below this video if you're interested in getting one yourself. Don't forget you can get a 15% discount with it as well. All the information is in the description box below. I hope you enjoy.
Okay guys, so I have sped this up a little bit by about 1.5 and I'll cut it down a little bit because generally hair system cut-in installs usually take about 1 to 2 hours. Now you'll see that Myra here is hair drying or blow drying base the system. That's because she's applied glue to it, and the glue cures quicker when you blow dry it. She's also applied glue to my scalp and blow dried that as well. It just sort of doubles the time or halves the time that it usually takes for the glue to cure. Obviously, if you are wearing a lace base, your stylist won't be gluing the base of the lace because it can actually destroy it. And if they do, say stop. You can do it on the scalp, wait for it to dry, but definitely don't do it on the base. Poly, it's fine. Now you'll see at the moment, the hair does not look like the finished article. There's nothing to worry about there. This is how all hair systems come. They look really curly, they look really thick, and they don't look like they belong on anyone's head. And this is why getting a hair system stylist is so important, because they know what they're doing. Now she's spraying my hair system with water just to sort of help loosen out any kinks, and it just makes it more tameable. It's easier to comb so that she can actually start chopping off the length. And as you can see here, she uses scissors generally to shorten the length. Some people use scissors, some people use blades, like razors. It really doesn't matter. I find, I always get mine done with scissors and the result is exactly the same, if not even better. I really don't see, to be honest, I don't really see a benefit of either scissors or razor. They both do a really good job as long as you know what you're doing. And Myra very much knows what she's doing with her 20+ years of experience. So as I said, what she does is she just goes around the circumference of the base just to sort of take a bit of length out. It usually comes at about 6 inches. So when it arrives, it will arrive in a box at your house, and it's usually about 6 inches unless you specify you want longer hair. So the default is 6 inches. What you can see here, because I've already said to her before actually getting the haircut kind of style that I want. So I was looking to get about 2.5 inches in length and a little bit shorter at the front, so I can either have it as a quiff or I can have it down. That's the way I like it because it gives me that flexibility. One day I might want my hair up, the next day I might want it down. So having it at a length where you can pull both styles off, for me, always works. It gives me that option. Sometimes I might want quiff with my hair up. Sometimes I just might not. I might not want to. I might have a lift and I might want to cover it up or something. As you can see now, Myra is using her clippers, and this is where we take all of the length off of the lower part of my sides. I always like my sides super short at the bottom, usually go for a 0. And that's because it's personal preference, but for me, I do have a hair pulling condition called trichotillomania that I've had for years, and I just find if there's less of my own hair there, I can't go at it. It's a sort of self-soothing stress mechanism. So you can see you're just taking all of the length out, you're going to a 0, so it's going to be a sort of mid-fade. Now, what do I mean by mid-fade? Basically, you want the appearance of the fade on the sides to start about halfway up the side of your head. Some people will go for what's called a low skin fade. Some people will go for a high skin fade where it's nearer to the top of the head. Again, it's personal preference. So this is where she starts blending it. So she basically uses a pair of scissors. She's gone to the 0 on the sides, and just above that, she's sort of just going a little bit shorter, a little bit longer, pardon me, just to give that appearance of the skin fade, which I always just like going for. It's something I've been into for probably about 4 or 5 years now. I could never get a good skin fade when I was younger because, firstly, I used to see it on TV and I didn't know what it was, so I didn't know what to ask for. And secondly, I just didn't have the confidence to really pull it off back then. I had a lot of balding patches on the top of my head. I had thinning on the top of my head, and I just felt it would be a bit silly to have a skin fade. Now I have a full head of hair. I just feel more confident. I feel like I am more able to rock that skin fade. I might get into my 40s one day. Well, I definitely will get into my 40s one day. And at that point, maybe I'll change my mind on it. But I still feel like at 35 years old, I can still get away with it. So what she's doing now is she's basically creating that fade on the left side of my head. And again, this is something I suppose you could try and do yourself. But the reason I'm showing you this video today, guys, is because if you actually go and see proper stylists who knows what they're doing, they will do a much better job than you. Now, I'm not trying to undermine you there. I tried to do this myself for at least a year. I tried to master the skin fade, but not only is it really hard to do, it's even harder to do on yourself when you're literally relying on mirrors. It's something that generally, you want to do it right, does take a fair bit of training and a fair bit of practice. I tried it on myself multiple times and I just couldn't nail it anywhere near as good as Myra does it. I've also got a barber who I see every couple of weeks just to keep the hair short on the sides. So Myra is my hair system stylist. I always go to her when I need a new system cutting in. Because she lives quite far away though, I only go to her for cut-ins, and every 3 to 4 weeks I see a local Turkish barber. He knows my situation and he just does a sort of fade around the sides and leaves the top. Now, as you can see, the hair system is really starting to come to life here. It's starting to look a lot more normal on top of my head. It's starting to really look like it's my hair. I don't look like a member of the Beatles anymore. And a lot of that just comes down to taking length off, but also creating a good blend on the sides that blends well with the hair on top. So it's quite astonishing actually how quickly you can go from having a really curly bowl hair appearance to actually having something which looks fairly natural and fairly normal on your head. What Myra's now doing is she is taking the length off the top, so that again, because you can see the length there is still about 6 inches, this has to be taken off. Otherwise it will just look unnatural. And in a bit, we'll actually get to the front where she goes a little bit shorter. But for the time being, she just focuses on taking some of the length out. And also quite often with the newer hair systems, sometimes they can be a little bit thicker than you'd expect. And I did a video on hair systems appearing puffy in the first few weeks of wearing them. That is normal, but stylists can actually use thinning shears just to take out a bit of that density. And quite often when I see Myra, if I'm feeling it's a little bit thick, sometimes she'll just take a little bit of that density out with some thinning shears, which I just find, sort of works really, really well. And it just gives a more sort of natural appearance. Now you can just see she's just taking some length off the front just to get the hair out of my eyes and to sort of blend it naturally with the hair system hair that's sort of going round the horseshoe, as it were. And you can see already the hair is just looking so much neater, it's looking so much smarter, and it's just looking so much cleaner than it did at the beginning of this video. So she's just spraying it here with some water. Again, it just helps tame the hair system a little bit so she can style it. Just does a little bit more trimming just to take sort of any sort of course correction, just to take any length out that might sort of be sticking out and that kind of thing. Focusing on the left side of the head and then just sort of working her way around. And I just wanted to say as well at this point that I feel that, you know, when you see your hair system stylist, it's not like going to a normal hairdresser or whatever, because you're effectively dealing with something which you've been struggling with. You know, you've been struggling with hair loss and you're coming in to see a stylist basically to help you feel sort of better about yourself, to help improve your confidence and your self-esteem. And you can build really strong bonds, like really strong friendship bonds with your stylist, because, you know, you talk about stuff that, you know, you wouldn't necessarily talk about a normal barbers or a normal stylist. And they're really helping you, you know, improve your confidence and improve your self-esteem. And having known Myra for like 6 years now, she's actually become a friend of mine. And I never thought, you know, when I first went in to see her to get my hair system fitted and cut in, I never thought I'd become friends with, you know, stylists or whatever. But because you're with them for quite a long time, we're talking years here, maybe even decades, and you're in there for about 2 hours and you know, talking about everything. But she really is a wonderful character, and she's absolutely hilarious, really, really down to earth. Which is why, you know, if you're in the UK and you want an experienced stylist and you want to have a bit of a laugh as well, I would highly recommend her. Remember, she does do remote cut-ins as well, where you can send her your hair system if you live too far away, and she will cut it for you on a mannequin head. She's done it for me before, and she does a fantastic job. And it means that you don't have to travel all the way down to London, and she can just post it back to you once it's been cut. All you need to do is specify the kind of style that you're looking for. And it's here that she's just, because she marked the point on my forehead where we wanted the system to go, she's just taken it off. She just uses a sort of black marker which can be taken off with isopropyl alcohol. And she's just putting some leave-in conditioner right now. I highly recommend leave-in conditioner. Remember, the system itself, you know, it's not nourished by its own the scalp's oils, so you have to nourish it yourself effectively, make sure it lasts longer. Now, you might be wondering why she's twisting the brush. That's just basically to help add body to the system itself. So she gets the hairdryer or the blow dryer behind the brush, curls it, and it just helps give it that body. I've noticed Toupee Queen in America does this as well. It just helps that natural sort of appearance. It can look really good at the front as well, just to add a bit of body, especially if you want your hair up, which is sort of the look that I was going for today. It just helps consistency with the consistency of the density of the hair as well. You do it throughout the system, it just gives it that balanced density throughout. So I do generally recommend actually using blow dryer or even a fan, but if you're going to use a blow dryer, use it on a cold heat. If you use it on a hot heat, it just dries out the hair and it frazzles it. So make sure you put the cold settings on when you are blow drying it. I'd only personally blow dry it as well after you've had a shower where you've shampooed and conditioned. Other than that, I do not use a blow dryer. And we're now coming towards the end of the system install. As you can see, there's quite a flat line here where the hair is and where it meets the sides. So Myra is just sort of cutting into that, blending it in so it just looks more natural, and just sort of, as I said, sort of perfecting and course correcting any sort of stragglers, as I call them, sort of long bits of hair, just to make sure it's as perfect as possible. As you can see, it's just it just looks a lot more natural than it did at the beginning. Obviously, as I mentioned, there is a bit of puffiness that you get with your system in the early days. So I do encourage you to watch that video I made last week, because that is super helpful in reducing the puffiness that you get, or the puffiness that you get with those systems in the early days. And I just when that's all done, Myra just shows me how it looks from the back with a mirror. And now she's just gonna, because I asked her just to take a little bit off the front in terms of the length, just so that I can sort of have my hair up and it doesn't look too long. So she's just sort of shortening that out a little bit. And honestly, guys, really, really important is whenever you go and see your stylist, whichever stylist you see, when they do the mirror at the end, if there's anything you want changing, just say, because that's their job at the end of the day. You know, it's your hair and you're paying them for a service. So I just said, yeah, can I have a little bit shorter at the front? And, you know, Myra just shortened it at the front for me. So please make sure that you always do that. Also, she's just putting in some dry sort of gel right now. It's quite a natural sort of gel. I really like it because it doesn't look greasy or anything like that. It just adds a bit of definition, adds a little bit of style, and yeah, I don't have gel in it too often, but you know, quite often when I go and see Myra, I'll just have a little bit of gel in because I'm like, well, it's the first time I'm wearing this new system, so I want to have that definition, but it's certainly not a daily thing for me. So here's a nice close-up just to show you the blend, how the colour matches with my natural hair colour. So I hope you found that video really insightful, guys. It was primarily targeted at people who think about getting a hair system, want to know what it looks like, want to know what it involves, the install. If you're interested in using Myra's services, you can find her on www.hairright.com. I'm also going to put that in the description box below. I hope you found that helpful, guys, and I'll speak to you very soon. Bye for now.